Okay, so today we are talking about Sentinel, because while Chapter 11 was a main story chapter and had main story impact, it was still very much a character-centric story, particularly when it came to Sentinel, or Marianne as she used to be called. Now, the entire story explores sort of this contradiction between Marianne's faith and the duty that she is sworn to undertake, and it does this by characterizing her internal conflicts as interactions between a series of discrete characters, Ladislas, Agnes, and the demon. And we're going to be examining specifically the climax of her conflict through this lens, so let's just go ahead and get right into it. Now, the climax of Marianne's character arc comes in the final conflict, where she is set to venture deep below the earth in order to perform her last and greatest sin, blowing up the Manus stronghold and finally ending the war, killing 10,000 in order to potentially save millions. However, the war has already ended. As Karen puts it, what lies ahead is a conflict all its own, a much harsher path. What follows then is the height of Marianne's dark night of the soul, a crisis of faith that leaves her unmoored, unprotected by her belief, and forced to question everything that she has done and everything about herself. Right, the first thing that Marianne notices upon entering the tunnel, upon entering hell, is that her voice no longer reaches Agnes. Her cousin, who had always been by her side, can no longer hear her, which is quite significant given what Agnes represents narratively. Every time we are given a description of Agnes, we are given the picture of perfect piety. Every quality that Marianne relates to goodness, grace, purity, virtue, compassion is attributed to her cousin. And this makes sense because symbolically Agnes is the crystallization of Marianne's faith. She even makes the comparison of her as an angel. Whenever Marianne is lost or filled with doubt or guilt, it is Agnes's voice that we hear, not to castigate or to blame, but to mourn. When Marianne kills a man, Agnes recites lines of Genesis, of Cain having murdered Abel, of one brother having killed another. In her nightmare fight with Marcia, Agnes recalls when they were children, having had their own little scuffle, lamenting that the fight that Marianne knows cannot end in that same happiness. And in the tunnel, Agnes speaks for the final time, her last words echoing despair that Marianne may soon be lost to her forevermore. Every time, it is the voice of her faith mourning what must be done, mourning the unraveling of her soul, mourning her slow descent into perdition. She knows that these are unavoidable necessities of war. She knows that what she does is undeniably sinful, but she does it anyways because she must, and her faith cries out in kind. Right? The fact that Agnes petrifies at the onset of the war sort of paralyzes this moratorium that Marianne places on her own faith. The words of God, "Thou shalt not kill," superseded by the necessity of the nation. And yet, at every step of the way, alongside every sin, Agnes remains. Her presence may be diminished, but she is there. So, for Marianne to enter into hell, into her greatest tribulation, and immediately no longer have that connection to her angel, means that she has now come upon a crossroads, one in which she cannot lean upon her faith to resolve. And that crossroads comes in the form of 3 trials. The first is a trial of the conscience, of guilt. Progressing down the tunnel, Marianne is accosted by visions of her victims. We see Sterling, the man whom she had hunted down, castigate her, calling her a devil and a murderer. We see a Manus soldier beg for his life, then renege only to be killed in turn. And finally, we see a demon appear before her, garbed in a rather mundane visage. Rather than present as a horned monster or an evil version of herself, or really anything more fitting for the narrative manifestation of her guilt that he represents, he comes dressed in the simple appearance of a Manus officer. Simple, and yet for Sentinel, this is the symbol of blasphemy, the face of the officer who not just approached her with heresies, but saved her in the name and for a cause of a divinity not her own. His introduction set her faith ablaze, only for that light to reveal that the path was always destined for damnation, that the mark upon her soul was dark and indelible. So for this to be the face of her nature is recognition that God didn't deliver her from evil, evil did, and to evil she belongs. The demon then questions how many she has killed, or if she even knows. He appeals to blood, telling her that they were arcanists just like her. He reminds her that these are her choices, that her hands are soaked in blood through no one else's fault but her own. The demon claims that guilt never troubled her, but nothing could be further from the truth. The guilt is there. It is speaking to her, reminding her. It is ever present, constantly tempting her to ruin. And it's this temptation that brings about her second trial, that of her resolve. A vision of Ladislas appears amidst her conflict with the demon, and he begs her to stop. He appeals to her salvation, telling her that she now stands at a precipice, that beyond all of the sins that she has committed, all the blood that drenches her hands, this final act is certain to corrupt her beyond redemption. He appeals to her humanity, reminding her that among the thousands that she is soon to kill, many are victims themselves. He does all that he can to dissuade her from taking that final, fatal step, yet the one thing he does not do is deny, to tell her that she doesn't need to do this, because she does. Even as a vision in her head, he knows the necessity of her duty, that her actions will, without a doubt, save countless lives. He just bemoans the fact that it needs to be her who does it. And this drives home the point that this is not a concerted attack on her psyche. These hallucinations are not the machinations of some external malefactor. It is her. As Marianne says, this Ladislas is but an echo of herself, her own faith, her own guilt, her own repressions and fears and doubts bubbling to the surface. The toxin is just the catalyst which brings them to the fore. So, if Agnes is the symbol of faith and the demon a symbol of guilt, then Ladislas is something that lies between them. He represents a great many number of things, but they all revolve around a central theme: reconciliation. He is her temperance, her conscience, a tether that prevents her from straying too deeply into transgression, his constant nagging, a reminder of those who had succumbed to corruption walking the same path that she currently walks. At the same time, he is her rationalization, her belief that if only this war would end, Agnes would be freed, Providence would be restored. The idea that though the path may be barbed and choked with thorns, surely its end would find the light of salvation shining upon her. But that isn't the case. The war is over, and yet she has still found no forgiveness. There is no one to whom she can confess. The myriad sins that she carries bears no repenting. It is just her and the burden of countless lives draped over her shoulders like obscene trophies. And thus the echo of rationalization in her mind dies, choked out by the demon of her own guilt. Her angel has departed, her fight has been for naught, her hands are stained and she cannot expect to see heaven. What is left then but her final trial, a temptation to ruin, to give in fully to guilt and succumb to her nature? The demon cajoles her, enticing her to give in to her ferocity and tear their enemies asunder, and for a moment it seems that she has done exactly that, invoking the raising of Sodom and Gomorrah as she dives into combat yet again, only to follow with a rather idyllic scene: the windmill and Marcia. And this is the one vision among them all that she does not rebuke, because it is the one vision among them all whose purpose is not to torment her. But why Marcia? Why this woman that she's only become properly acquainted with recently, and only in short periods? Well, there is a short story by Ryunosuke Akutagawa, The Spider's Thread, that tells of a sinful man, Kandata, who, after his death, is cast into hell, into a boiling lake of blood. And Kandata, though he is a terrible sinner, has but a single good deed to his name, that he once chose to spare a spider. And the Buddha, knowing this, lowers a silver spider's thread into hell in order to allow Kandata to climb out. Marcia holds so much weight in Marianne's mind because she is her one act of kindness, if, unintended. The lone spider's thread descending into hell, the one person she did not kill. Even if her hands are to be stained with the blood of dozens and soon thousands of people, this singular person at least does not weigh on her conscience. She says it herself. She will never have the chance or the right to earn forgiveness for the people that she has hurt, but then Marcia comes in and grants her exactly that, emphatically and resolutely. Even if it's just one among thousands, one of her sins has already been absolved. But just like Kandata's selfishness causing the thread to snap, Sentinel inevitably must fall back into hell. The idyllic scene is torn asunder by violence, and Sentinel comes back to her senses amidst the bloodied corpses of the enemies she has just massacred. The taint of her bloodline has well and truly manifested, and though she does not accept her demon, nor does she rebuke it in its entirety. Knowing that her soul is soiled, that no forgiveness can exist for her, she then chooses to become the scapegoat. If someone must bear the weight of 10,000 lives, it may as well be her.
Agnes, quand j'étais jeune, je ne comprenais jamais vraiment les mots que tu disais. Pourquoi un homme porterait-il volontairement les péchés de tout le monde pour les biens des autres? Je réfléchissais à cela. Si toute la culpabilité et toute la souffrance m'étaient imposées, comme ce serait cruel et injuste. Mais maintenant je pense, peut-être qu'il est préférable qu'elle soit seule à moi à porter. Je suis désolée, Agnes.
She completes her mission. She lights the fuse, destroys the mountain, and with it, any chance of her ever seeing paradise. The war is well and truly over, and its aftermath is nothing but bitter revelation. Truly, the war meant nothing. A brutal, pointless conflict waged at the behest and for the ambition of man, far, far above her. The world Sentinel returns to is one she can't even recognize. The places have changed, and so have the people. Marcia is gone, the spider's thread vanished the moment Sentinel chose to fall. Ladislas is left broken and despondent, yet coherent enough to meet with her for one last time. His final gift, a soul-shackling chain and an erstwhile promise to pray for her salvation. Even when utterly lost, he still guides her to reconciliation. And Agnes, although promised resurrection, remains cast in cold stone, her return dismissed as the ravings of a zealous lunatic, of Marianne's conscience desperately trying to find meaning in the blood that was shed and the sins that sully her hands. The symbol of her faith persists, but it is irrevocably altered, a cenotaph to all those things that Marianne had to discard in order to become Sentinel. She still believes, but there is no longer comfort in that belief, only inevitability, only the promise of certain damnation. And that's it, really. Like the first sinner, Sentinel's curse is to walk the earth, never knowing home until the true conflict comes to an end. But this video has come to an end. I really like this chapter. Sentinel's descent into the tunnels was really, really well written, and I kind of knew I wanted to make a video on it after I read it, even if it might have ended up shorter, who knows, we'll see. Overall, I think chapter 11 was one of the best ones in terms of balancing main plot significance with character development, so yeah, this one was a treat. I like this a lot. But that's gonna be the video. Thank you to Pompa Aerostar, Chip II, Bones and Apples, and Akito DTD for being YouTube members, and a special thank you to Nivo Suez and Chip II for the 10 gifted members each. The support really does mean a lot to me, thank you. And to the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all on the next one, okay? Bye-bye.